Hello, everyone. On our next episode of our BIM for Manufacturer and Wholesaler series. If you're not familiar with our webinars, I definitely recommend you to check our website BIMStreamer.com, where you can find the recordings from the previous episode. And recently, we've just released the recording from the episode that took place in April, where together with Olaf Thies from Geze GmbH, we've managed to put a bit more light on the way how to manage different level of information for the BIM libraries, for the BIM content, depending on different project stages or specific market needs that particular BIM library was used by. And on today's session, as usual, we will cover different aspects of BIM content management. And on this particular one, we will focus on the content management distribution. And we will focus on the distribution which can be performed in an omni-channel way. In order to actually explain you how to do the omni-channel distribution of the BIM libraries, I would like to, in the initial phase, focus on what the omni-channel really is. Then I will ask my guests to explain what are the possible channels for the BIM libraries. And at the very end, we'll try to give you a bigger idea how you can orchestrate your omni-channel distribution strategy for your BIM libraries, which will be later on proved by a demo that was also prepared for you, especially for you for this event. And I would like to introduce our today's guest. So our first guest is a person that used to work for the BIM object for the company that was preparing a massive amount of BIM content, massive amount of BIM libraries. Right now, he's working also for the agency that prepares the BIM content, but he is also an active construction engineer, which very often support us with his BIM consultancies. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to welcome Piotr Wolny from BIM Drone. Hello, Piotr.
Hello there. It's thanks for that meeting, and I think the things that we are prepared for you will be interesting, I think.
I'm sure of that, and that's why I would like to also introduce our second guest, who, as usual, was responsible for preparing you the demo. Ladies and gentlemen, project manager of BIMStreamer, Adam Końca. Hello, Adam.
Hello, nice to meet you.
And let's get back to our current agenda. So at the very beginning, I would like to give you a very short intro of what the omni-channel really is, because if we would be talking about the omni-channel strategy for the BIM content, you really need to understand the basic. For some of you, it might be pretty clear. For some of you, not necessarily. That's why I think that the quick recap would be quite beneficial. So the BIM, the omni-channel actually originates from the retail. It started in 2010, and I think that the best option to describe it is using the IKEA example. In general, I'm not very great fan of doing the shopping, not sure whether you are, but there is one thing that I really like when it comes to IKEA. Actually, I can open the website of IKEA, I can navigate to their product catalog, I can put everything into my shopping cart, and once I'm not sure whether this or that product is more or less relevant for me, whether I would like to buy it or not, I can leave my shopping cart for a moment and continue doing the shopping at some later stage. After, for instance, I consulted with my wife, with my kids, or with possible tenants if I'm buying the furniture for the flat that I'm about to rent. But when I'm adding the products into a shopping cart, I can start with the website, but later on I can, for instance, continue doing the shopping using my mobile app, using my mobile phone. So I'm actually changing, we call that the channel. So initially I started browsing started interaction with the IKEA using the website. Later on I decided to continue doing the interaction with the brands by using the mobile phone. In the end, I could even decide to go to physical store of IKEA, and using the mobile app, I could even locate the items that I put into my shopping cart and even do the purchase in the brick and mortar, in the physical store. So in my customer journey, I was able to interact with the brand using 3 channels. Some of them I was using simultaneously. So for instance, when I was in the physical store, I was simultaneously using 2 channels, the mobile one and the physical one, the store that I was actually in. And this is the typical example of omni-channel. So the omni-channel allows you to actually interact with the brand using several channels on your customer journey, very often even at the same time. But the retail is not the only segment that actually use the omni-channel strategy. You can use it. You're actually using it already for different segments. I'm sure that you're working with mobile apps from your bank. I'm sure that you're paying with your credit card. More often, you're actually paying with your phone using Apple Pay or Google Pay. So you're actually also interacting with your bank by performing transactions over different channels. This is also an omni-channel way of managing some services. The same with the healthcare. Take, for instance, the COVID pass that we had to show not so long time ago, when actually we went to the vaccination center, we got the stab, and after that, we were able to use a QR code that was part of our mobile application, or we just printed out into a sheet of paper, and then someone could scan it and check if our vaccination is correct. This is also a way of spreading the information in a multi-channel way. And there are plenty of other businesses that actually do that simultaneously on a different stages, on a different segments of business. But how the omni-channel actually was, from where it was originating from. So everything started from marketing, and the idea was to actually combine the digital and the physical world, so that you could actually seamlessly transfer your customer journey from one world into another. And from the brand perspective, there was a tracking. So the brand was able to track your behavior digitally and offline and interact upon that. The omnis actually means every or all in Latin. So the idea is that the communication should be in all possible way between the user and the brand, and it should be seamless. The origin actually states that, according to the IDC report from the 2015, the brands that actually took into account the omni-channel strategy had an increase in transaction size up to 35%, and the customer loyalty increased up to even 10%. I'm actually a best example of that, because I'm using the IKEA for buying the furniture just because the easiness of the customer journey they are actually offering. But how it started in 2010, so the concept is relatively old. However, the concept got traction a bit later in 2013, because that was the time when the more users start using the smartphones. So they start using the digital channels that they can actually have in their pocket all the time. But I think that the most massive increase of the omni-channel marketing strategy came after 2020, alongside with the COVID pandemic, where lots of the business has to move to digital world from the physical one, because the physical one was not even accessible anymore. So this is more like an intro of what the omni-channel really is. But before we continue, and before I ask my first guest about the possible channels for the BIM libraries, I would like to do some sort of a recap, so that we are 100% sure that we all understand each other correctly and we're all on the same page. Because there are several terms which, from the marketing and multi-channel perspective, may sound interchangeable, and they aren't. So first of all, I would try to distinguish different strategy of interaction between the brand and the end user. the single channel is relatively simple. Let's say that I'm selling an ice cream in a food truck nearby the park. This is the only way that I'm actually interacting with my customer segment, by selling them the ice cream over there. So I'm just using the single channel, but and it's pretty clear. But let's say that I would like to improve my marketing strategy, and I'm starting printing out the brochures that I put in front of the houses of my potential customers. As a result, I started using more than one channel. So my marketing strategy changed a bit to multi-channel strategy. So in case I would, for instance, get sick, I wouldn't be able to sell my ice cream nearby the park. My brochure doesn't know about that. So I printed out my brochure. It says that I'm available every weekend from 10 till 8 a.m. But from some unknown circumstances, I wasn't able to participate in the course of several next weekend because of my sickness. And this information is not placed on the brochure because these channels of communication are not correlated with each other. So if someone read the brochure and go to buy my ice cream at my food truck, I don't have any correlation. So these channels are disconnected from each other. That's why, especially with the advent of the COVID pandemic, the brands wanted to somehow interconnect the channels from one to another. It was very important during the COVID time because, for instance, I was able to use the mobile app of my favorite grocery store to put some items into the shopping cart and then pick it up in the physical store without necessity of entering there. So this is a typical approach of cross-channel behavior. So I started my customer journey in one channel, that was the mobile app, and I ended it up in a different one, that was the physical brick and mortar shop where I picked the items that I previously pre-booked. But the cross-channel is very often misled with the omnichannel. Omnichannel is, let's say, one level up. It's a holy grail of marketing. So it's not only the case that I'm able to switch seamlessly between one channel and another one. It's more that I can use several channels at once. Take this IKEA example that I was telling you about at the very beginning of our presentation, where while I was inside the store, I was simultaneously able to use my mobile app to check my items in my shopping cart and also to navigate to IKEA storage room to locate the items so I can actually put them into my physical shopping cart. So this is the pure omni-channel, and this is very important to stress the difference between, well, maybe not single channels, because I think that this is a pretty clear for you, but the multi-channel cross-channel. So the multi-channel is when you're actually using several channels, but they are not interconnected. Cross-channel is when you actually use the several channels, they are interconnected, and you're switching from one channel to another alongside your customer journey. Take this example of grocery store, which can be picked up at the physical store. And the omni-channel is, like I said, the highest possible level of integration of the channels, where you can literally use several channels at once. And this is more like an intro when it comes to the omni-channel background. I hope that it was pretty clear for you. If not, I would be happy to answer all the questions. You can just write them down in the chat window. But right now, I would like to focus in the meantime about the channels for the possible channels for the BIM libraries. And for this part, I would like to ask Piotr, who is a BIM expert, to actually tell us what are the possible channels from which the designers, the specifiers, the constructor can actually take the content from, take the BIM libraries from, and what are the pros and cons of each and every channel. Okay, Piotr, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Marcin. What I want to present to you is the types of the content channels which are available right now on the market. And the biggest one is definitely the BIM portals, the specified BIM portals which have libraries with many brands which are working with many objects available on their sites, with many categories. We have on the market a BIM object, one of the biggest, the Polantis, which are bought by BIM object right now. There are many others specified for ArchiCAD, maybe. So there are many of them. And there are many pluses of those. For the first thing is they are fully outsourced. They're working on their own. They have their own team in designing objects. They can adapt your objects with no problem, and they're working on their own team and collaborate with you. It works really well. I think they have experience in it, and they know how to do this. The other plus is user reach. They have many users, many designers are visiting their websites, so there is a possibility that they find your objects very easily. You can try to find new customers in there. And the other plus is that there is no extra software needed, like it's written here. That's because it's mostly based on the website. You can just download the files you need, and that's all. Add to your personal library and working with it. But there are downsides as well. There are no promotion focus at now. Every object on their websites are at their libraries are equal in promotion ladder, as I can say. You don't have any ownership of the data. The data on their websites are their own, and if you want to update those files, you need to contact them, and they will do this for you. But it takes time. You need to collaborate for some time to update those informations. They need to accept that, and that's how it works. It's not as fast as direct update the informations from your products. That's why many files are outdated there. We have files with the products which are cancelled, which are not protected, not available at the market at now for some time. We have many files which are outdated in parameters because some products are changing in time. And that's why if you even download your file, sometimes it's not very precisely in informations with those informations which are available at the maker's website. Especially if we are talking about datasheets, which are updated very quickly. The other downgrade is lack of regionalization. Some libraries have that, but some don't. And it doesn't always work very well, especially if you are working for a project in not your country. For example, if you're working on a project which are based on North American, but you are preparing project in Europe. Any other downside is the non-customizable UI. That's a downside because they have prepared UI which are not customizable. You cannot customize it. That's their sheets which are provided, and only them can customize it, but they don't want to do this. And the other downside is the fact that there are many objects which are not promotional. We have many other objects in the same category. It's very difficult to find the specific maker. But we have another category of channeling the objects, and it's just puts your objects in your website or send it via email to your customer. We can do this very easily because we have mostly the many times we have your website. We have our website which are prepared and put there your files is very easily because we can do this fast and we don't need any extra software because we are just sending files like many others. But the downsides of this solution is there too, because it's very expensive to do it right, especially if we need to make regionalization, for example, and or we want to, for example, prepare files in many types, which are very difficult. We are finishing with many files on our website, which are similar, but it's easy. It's hard to find for the user the specific one which are needed in the project. And updating those files is quite hard as well in this solution, especially if we are sending our files via email. The situation where we are sending to our customers updated files every time, we are spamming our customers. They don't want to use it. They don't even read it in many cases. The solution for that and the other in the other channel like BIM libraries is BIM plugin. We can install it on our tool like Revit or ArchiCAD and download those files directly into model. It's very intuitive, very easy to use in many cases, but we need to install it, some kind of plugin on our computer. The pluses are that those files can be updated every time. If something is changing in our models, the plugin can download it directly into model. So we have libraries every time up to date, and we can access to more data because we can select files directly into model and interchange them directly into them. But the downsides are huge because this is a specific solution for specific tool. We need extra software, which are not every time available, especially if you are working on a huge office, which have, for example, Revit LT, which are not fully open for plugins and other solutions. We need some feature which, for example, the designers don't want to use plugins because it makes our tool heavier and worse to and it gets Revit, for example, work much worse if we are using many plugins. What if the situation if many makers are making their own plugins? Few of them, many dozens of them. Who of the designers want to just install, for example, 15 plugins for many makers? It makes Revit work much worse. And it's expensive. The developing of the BIM plugin takes time. There are not many solutions ready for the implement, and omnichannel is not possible in this case because we are focusing just on one specific tool, like for example Revit. We are closing ourselves on this bulb, in this bulb. And thanks for advice, I think, and Marcin will talk about our solution.
Yeah, so thank you for Piotr for the explanation of these all possible channels. So as you saw, there are several different channels. Each of them has its pros and cons. If you're using the BIM portals, the setup is relatively easy. You have the user range, but on the other hand, the question that you need to ask yourself is whether you're promoting your own brand or whether you're promoting the BIM portal. If you actually want to be one manufacturer, or you just wanted to be one of the many. Yeah? The other option is that you can of course use your own website, but you need to create one. Of course, you can use your online catalog, but then if you would like to start updating the content, it gets more and more complex, not mentioning the fact that you would also need to probably collect some important statistics, because omnichannel is not only about publishing the data but also about collecting it. And I think that the last example that Piotr stressed was that the BIM plugins are pretty cool when it comes to utilization, but unless you have a killer feature, no one will install it. So because no one wants to install a bunch of plugins to slow their BIM platform down. Yeah. So keeping that in mind, we wanted to come up with the idea how to focus on the benefits of all of these channels and reduce the downsides of that. So the first thing that we came up with when we were thinking about the omnichannel strategy is that we need to generate the BIM content on the server side. So in that case, the BIM plugin approach, when the content is actually somehow generated inside the plugin, we just decide that it's not the proper option, because if we would like to distribute the content to some other channels, then all of these channels would need to install some additional software in order to generate the content. So in this case, this makes the multi-channel publication of the content literally impossible. That's why the initial step, if you're thinking seriously about the omnichannel strategy, is that you really need to create the content on the server side. As a result of that, you would be quite easily publish that content into manufacturer website, to the BIM plugins as well, because if you have it generated, you can as well publish it to the plugin. So it doesn't stop you from doing it, but it gives you more additional benefits, because you can also publish it to the marketplaces and to plenty other places for which the BIM content might be relevant. This can be the wholesalers, this can be the data pools, mobile application with the augmented reality, or even if you would like to share it over an email, this could also be possible. So the idea is to limit the necessity of updating the information update to a manual process to absolute minimum, replacing that with the automation. The only way we can actually achieve that is by generating the BIM libraries on the server side. The other thing, which is very important to stress when it comes to the omnichannel, is the adaptation of the information to particular channel. So let's say that you are an international manufacturer or the wholesaler, and you would like to provide the information into several different regions, like Poland, Germany, UK, whatever. All of these regions most likely use different languages. Take, for instance, UPONOR as a best example. UPONOR is currently generating content for over 30 countries and over 20 languages. all in a full automation because they are generating the content on the server side, of course, and they are actually working in a omni-channel way already because they are publishing it to their own website, to their own web BIM plugin, and recently they started even publishing the content to a BIM portal. So it's not only about the generation of the content, but also about adaptation of the content to particular regional needs. And these needs might also different, not only depending on the region, but depending on different factors, like, for instance, the level of information that I'm interested in, the type of the classification that I would like to use in my schedules. Probably it may also depends on the type of the products that I'm actually working with. So and also the in the end, who is actually using it at the very end. So for instance, if I'm a facility manager, I most likely be interested in getting the COBie data inside my BIM files, but not necessarily if I'm a designer, which is on the preliminary budgeting. Then probably I would need to use a completely different set of data. So adapting this level of information is also quite substantial when it comes to the omni-channel strategy, and it should be pretty dynamic. But I think that I won't cover this topic in more details. If you're interested in finding out more about the level of information needed, like I said at the very beginning of the presentation, I recommend you to check our recording from our last episode where we were covering this topic. Of course, channel that we would like to publish to can be dedicated for specific region, for specific user group, like facility managers, like the designers, like the architects, and so on. But they can also be specific to particular, for instance, general contractors. Take Skanska or Strabag, which might have their own set of standardized attribute naming conventions, standardized classification of the products and materials. In order to make their life easier, we as the manufacturers or the wholesaler might be interested in providing them the BIM libraries, which suits their particular needs. So we can have a dedicated, let's say, content channel, which is specific for instance, Skanska or Strabag, which contains their specific set of attributes in the way they like to have it. And last but not least, that we should also focus on while we're thinking about the omni-channel distribution of the content and adaptation to the particular channels is also to be able to provide the content for the public tenders, the content which is anonymized, the content which can be easily used by the designers in the public tenders, and the content which we are able to control, the way how it's prepared, the way in which the information are stored over there and distributed as well. So this is the step number 2. So the step number 1 was to be able to generate content on the server side and distribute it somewhere. The step number 2 was to be able to customize the content, to personalize the content to the particular channels, to the particular end user. So we're still missing one final step when it comes to the complete omni-channel strategy, and this is the collection of the information. So it's not only about the publishing the information, the publishing the BIM libraries, but it's also a matter of collecting the feedback. Who, how, in which quantities are actually using our content. We should be able to tell through which channels the content is being fetched from, so we can determine that these channels are more relevant than that one, so that we can see that these products are more popular than that one, so we can figure out why this product is more popular than the another one. It's more because it's more useful, or maybe because our content is better or worse, and maybe we should improve our contents to increase the sales for the other product. Not mentioning the fact that if we're collecting the information about who, what, and in which quantity collects the information, we can quite easily integrate that with some sales automation. So the collecting the information is as important as publication of as the cohesive publication of that data. But sometimes, if we're doing the omni-channel strategy, we're able to collect the information in the way we like. For some cases, especially if we're publishing the content to some external channels like data pools, like wholesaler websites, like BIM portals, just name it, we're not able to somehow integrate the information about the statistics into some cohesive business intelligence. So we need to do some sort of a workaround. How we can achieve that? Well, I said that in step number 2 is that we can adapt the information which are within the BIM content to the particular channels. So we could use this feature to actually prepare the content in a way which allows us to do the tracking of the user behavior even outside of our own internal channels. And we can achieve that by providing something which is called the UTM parameters to our URLs, which we stored within the BIM content, which states from which source the content was actually fetched from. So let's say that we would like to push the content to some BIM portal or to some data pools. It makes more sense to, for instance, within the URL, place the link to our website, but also include some extra parameters which allows us to track that, for instance, that someone who clicks this URL actually came from, I don't know, from BIM portal or from Revit add-on or from the data pool website. As a result, we are also able to track the behavior of the user not only within our internal but also with some of the external channels, using even free solutions like Google Analytics. So these are the most important 3 steps when it comes to actually using the best of breed of all possible channels that can be utilized for distributing of the BIM content, and also by collecting the information, collecting the feedback on who and how is actually using it. And as a proof of concept, I would like to ask Adam to show you a small demo that demonstrates how we actually been managed to prepare some very brief omni-channel strategy just for the purpose of this episode. So Adam, I'm handing you over the stage. So if you could explain our attendees what was actually prepared on the demo, and later on, of course, present the actual workflow. Adam, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello everyone once again. Let's check what we have for today. So we are going to use the BIMStreamer as a BIM content management platform, which allows us to take advantage of omnichannel and have the possibility to generate the content for every channel that manufacturers would like to be on. So for today, we will generate the BIM content in German and English version, and also some anonymized BIM files. We are going to prepare the content for different channels. The wholesalers, the manufacturers' websites, mobile applications, external BIM platforms, data pools, and Revit plugins. And through all of these channels, the clients can search their products, and through all of these channels, the manufacturer's BIM content will be available for the clients. Let's check the movie. First of all, we are going to prepare the BIM content. So we will generate the BIM files for dedicated channels. You can see that we have queued a lot of synchronizations of the 2 families for different channels. We have so many synchronizations because different channels will contain different set of attributes and also different product portfolio depending on the channel. When all the synchronizations are done, we can accept them. Now let's check and compare some products. Let's open the details. And here we have two examples, general contractor and internal BIM library, the same product. And when we scroll down, you will see that there is different set of attributes injected into this products depending on the channel. Now let's move to the publication. According to the publication, it's possible to plan the publication when it should be done in the future. And for example, if you change your mind, you can just cancel it. Now let's publish all the channels immediately. For the webinar purposes, we are going to use our internal tools like Revit plugin and online library. That's why all the channels are available in the one dropdown. However, in the real life, of course, these channels will be in separate applications. Now you have seen that we have jumped to the online library through the Revit plugin, and these attributes had 4 products. Now we are going to change the channel, and for the data pool, this product is not available. Let's check. Let's open different product, and for data pool, you can see that there is just 1 product, but for external BIM platform, there were 2 products. Now let's get back to Revit. Let's add some products into the project, and let's check the attributes that we have injected into these Revit files. Yeah, the first one, you can see that this is anonymized version of the file because there is no information about the manufacturer. There is the link to the product on the online library with UTM settings. In this case, we have source set to internal BIM library and medium to Revit. Here is information about the author and created by information about the creator of this file, and some other attributes that have been injected into this file. Now let's check the attributes of the second product. It's also anonymized. However, the link to the product contains different UTM settings, as this is external BIM platform, so source is extended BIM library, EBL, and medium is Archispace. It's also possible to add some campaign information. For example, if you have some campaigns, you can give some more information which will be used in the statistics. And below, of course, some different attributes that have been injected into this file. Now let's get back to back office. It's also possible to add dimensions into the generated drawings of the products. Now let's change the values of this product, and when we change the package, upload it into the platform and make another synchronization of this product, the new version will contain the new drawings and the new BIM files with the new values. Now let's synchronize this product. And in a second, we will see and now we can see the compared drawings. We can see that the value has been updated. Now let's move to the mobile application. Here you can see how the products can be visible on the mobile app. We can add there some high resolution images, drawings, some technical information through the PDF files. Of course, also attributes that describe these products, generated views, 360-degree views, and very cool feature, augmented reality. You can throw the object on the floor or the wall and check how it looks like. Something that might be very useful, the statistics. There is several options that describe that gives us some information, like information about what kind of file formats have been downloaded, how much of them, what kind of Revit formats and Revit versions have been downloaded from the page, what was the source of the download, so if web page or Revit plugin or maybe some web portals. In different tab, we have information about product views through different channels. In this case, you can see that the data can be also showed in a table views, the same information about the downloads, and when you click on the number, you will be moved to the more detailed table, where is information exactly about who downloaded, what kind of file, what was the type of this file, channel, manufacturer, Revit version, or date when it was done. Another tab gives us information about seen products. Also, when we click on the number, we will be moved to the more detailed table, where we have information about the family, the user, and other things. Thank you for watching.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So just to do some recap, the idea was to show you how you can actually orchestrate your distribution of your BIM libraries across different channels, both the internal one, where like your own website, like your own Revit plugin, or the external one, like some external BIM portals, data pools, wholesaler websites. And at the very end, it's all about the collecting, not only about, like I said, publishing the content, but also collecting the feedback. So at the very end, we showed you not only the publication, but also the collection of the data on who and how is using it. Actually, for the purpose of the demo, all of the information about the downloads were anonymized. But in your case, if you, for instance, collects the user registration, you could actually see exactly who exactly download your product. You will know them by name, you will know them by their email address and any other personal data that you would like to collect from them during the registration process. So in order to fully grasp the omni-channel strategy, like I said, we need to think about the 3 steps: generate the content on the server side, adapt the content to particular channels that you let's say would like to publish to, and collect the feedback. These are the things that we should focus on while thinking about the omni-channel. And taking the occasion, I would like to right now invite you for our next webinar that took place right after the holiday season, which will cover the topic of different way of configuring the BIM libraries. Sometimes the BIM libraries might be just too heavy to have all possible variations within the single BIM file. and sometimes there is a necessity to make a lighter version of the files with a pre-configured components. And we will try to cover this topic at the very next episode, which will take place on the 2nd of October, just after the holiday season. If you find it interesting, just click the link that I just pasted in the chat window and just register. In case you have any questions for today's session, I think that this is the best moment to ask them. I think that we still be before the schedule, so we have something like 10 minutes left, but if there are any questions, this is the right time to ask them. All right, I see that no one is actually writing anything, so everything seems to be pretty clear. In case you would like to give us a shout after the event, just type me and just write me an email, take a screenshot of this slide and send me your request. And of course, I wish you all the best for the holiday season and hope to see you after the holiday in October for our next episode of the BIM for Manufacturer and Wholesalers series. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you and bye.